Hi there, and welcome to my review for Ready Player One. So Ready Player One is a new film by Steven Spielberg, and it's his first sort of massive blockbuster hit in years. And I think this is one of the films which I'm gonna have to say most people will like more than me. I have very little passion for nostalgia. I am in tune with all of the pop culture nostalgia that people seem to have. In fact, I'm just not generally someone who cares for the majority of the big pop culture things that everyone else seems to care about. I'm not a Back to the Future fan, I'm not an Indiana Jones fan, I'm not a Star Wars fan. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I dislike those films, I'm not saying I don't enjoy those films, I'm not saying they aren't even classics, but I don't have nostalgia for them in the same way that everyone else seems to do. When I watched Ready Player One, I wasn't cheering at all the references and all the moments, and everyone else must have done awards, everyone else loved it. Not my thing, to be blunt. So Ready Player One basically set in the future, everyone plays the same video game, and that video game can be anything you want, there's lots of references, and there's like a bunch of stuff and clues someone has to get so they can save the video game from people who want to... no one cares about the plot here. It's just an excuse for nostalgia. And here's the thing, nostalgia's fine, everyone loves nostalgia, I think it's good to have it, you know, regardless of whether or not I have nostalgia for the things in Ready Player One is irrelevant. My nostalgia tends to be for more obscure pop culture, which just isn't going to appear here. If this is your thing, you'll enjoy it, but let's be absolutely clear here. This film is really bad. It's not good. So I have total respect for Steven Spielberg, and I was really conflicted with this film because I love Spielberg, but I don't like the premise of the film, which is just because I don't like so much nostalgia in one film. I think nostalgia has its place, but I think there comes a point where culture becomes recycled, and it gets to a point where culture isn't given any more values or any more things. I think once you just make films that only care about nostalgia, you're not really making anything worthwhile anymore. Nostalgia needs to be limited. It's all good to have a reference here and there, but there comes a point where you can't hang your movies on this. And unfortunately, in this era where we have so many sequels and remakes, nostalgia is everywhere. Everything gets rebooted. Everything from the old past keeps coming back anew. And we see it not just in the sequels and remakes, we see it outside of this. Ready Player One was an original book, and this film is somewhat an original thing. It's not a sequel, at least. And this is still nostalgia heavy. Even in Oscar bait like La La Land, that is just all about nostalgia. There's no like pretense of it being about anything but references. And I think that's something that we kind of see a lot now, and I just don't appreciate it. I think it's quite lazy, and honestly, I just think it dilutes culture down. It dilutes the frame of reference for what culture can be to just a few things. And I have to say, I just didn't particularly care for the nostalgia here. I also thought the film was quite hypocritical, because the bad guy here is these corporate entities that want to corporatise nostalgia. And yeah, that's wrong. And that's why I think the film is stupid from the outset. Because I think the film is corporatising nostalgia. So the bad guys being bad guys, like what? And the other thing is that I also just dislike the way nerds are using this film. Like, the whole thing is like, oh, these corporate people, they don't understand nerd culture. But I'm sorry, but nerd culture has just become homogenized anyway. Nerd culture in this day and age doesn't even mean anything, because most of the supposed nerds just follow the same mainstream games and movies. If you're someone who actually is into the obscure stuff, you're still considered like ostracized. You're not part of the mainstream nerd community. And so the idea that these mainstream nerds are going to be crushed by the corporations is quite funny, because the corporations already own those people. Who do you think makes the big games and the big movies, people? Come on. Okay, little rant over. Let's just get to the film. Like, the film is a terrible premise and it's hypocritical, and I have to say, just no. Just no. The film itself, however, still not good. So Steven Spielberg's one I totally respect, and if it wasn't for Spielberg, I think this film would be way worse than it is. So Spielberg definitely 100% makes this film exciting, and you know, the way the action is done is fantastic, and it's very, very watchable, it's enjoyable. If you like the references, you'll get lots out of it. I sat there and I went, I don't even like the references, and I'm getting a lot out of this. It's quite fun. It's fun and it's quick, and it's, you know, don't think about it, it's really, really exciting. Spielberg knows how to pace and block action scenes like no one else, and I've totally respect for Spielberg's craft here. It's very well done, it's very streamlined, it knows what it's doing, it don't really fuck up. Having said that, there's problems here, and they're all from the script. The script is terrible, the source material itself is trash, so no surprise here. If the film was bold and subversive, it might have actually tried to undercut the source material, but instead, no, it just buys into it, so, you know, reference after reference after reference. And as a result, the film is basically stringing together a plot, but the references came first. It thought of all the pop culture stuff and then went, let's build a plot around that. So the plot is a mess. All of the clues that have to be solved are all solved in really lame ways. The film doesn't go anywhere unpredictable. In fact, it's very much exactly as you'd expect. It's kind of standard. It's not really well done. There's plot holes everywhere. If you really think about it, it doesn't make much sense. The characters are all underdeveloped. The acting is uniformly pretty meh. There's only a couple of standouts. Ben Mendelsohn and Mark Rylance are particularly good, but everyone else is just pretty much rubbish. It's not a film which I thought was particularly well made. So yeah, look, Spielberg's work here, totally respect. He makes a better movie out of this than most people would have done because the material is really bad. The script is all over the place. I don't like the premise. I think it's really horrible, and I think in general, as much as I have respect for a certain type of nostalgia, this is overload. And it's not to say Ready Player One is at fault here, but it's part of a general trend which is leading to a cultural decline, where nostalgia is taking the place of legitimate originality and legitimate ideas that should be pushed to the forefront. Instead of tropes being reinvented in original ways, we aren't even using tropes. We're literally using stuff from other movies, and it's now not a trope, it's now, oh look, this is another movie. This is not good, and that's fine, and I'm certain some will enjoy it, but I'm saying, from my perspective, Ready Player One is a bad film, like, just bad. I did enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it enough to justify the fact that I think the filmmaking is pretty bad. So yeah, unfortunately, Ready Player One, yeah, I can't really recommend it. Have you seen Ready Player One? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions. I've seen people who really agree with my stance that it's bad, and I've seen people who really, really love it. So it's really out there. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to watch more of my reviews, and subscribe, because I post reviews all the time. If you want to read my reviews instead, you can follow me on Letterboxd or on Twitter. Links in the description. And Ready Player One, it's a bad film.